my workflow for including D3 visualizations in a bookdown book. So my file structure looks like this. I have a bunch of RMDs. One of my RMDs is interactive component, and I have a short script here that creates an SVG and a rectangle and a circle, 2 circles actually. And notice that I also have an HTML div with an ID, which I use to append the SVG. I select this div and then append the SVG so it'll end up here and not somewhere else in the book or somewhere else on the page where I don't want it to end up. So the typical workflow, and this is actually not what I do, but I want to show you why, is to build the book and then look at the chapter that has the visualization, and I see my circles appeared. The reason I don't like this workflow is that it's slow. You have to, let's say I'm going to make another circle, make a change to my file, and let's put this one at 300 and make it a slightly bigger radius. So I click Build Book. And as you can see, it takes a while to see your visualization. So one thing you can do to speed it up a little bit is to preview the chapter instead of rendering the whole book. So let's say I decide I want this to actually be a little bigger, and I want the circle to be green. So now I can knit this chapter instead of instead of render it. And it's faster since it's only going to update that particular chapter, and it also takes me straight there. However, this I think is still less than ideal because there's still that waiting until you see it, and that's a little bit slow for me. So here's the way that I like to do it. I like to move the script, so I don't need the script tags, just the JavaScript part, and create a new file. I picked JavaScript file, but I think it's just a plain text file. All that does is help you when you save the file. And I'm going to save it as a JavaScript file in a new folder that I'm going to call scripts. And then I'm going to go back here and I forgot part of it, so let's add that to the circle.js. And then here, instead of having this script here, we just specify the source. So it's str equals scripts circle.js. And now let's just try and make sure that that works. So I'm going to build the whole book, though I could have probably just done it this time. Okay, and indeed we have our visualization as before. The advantage though here is that now that I have this in a separate JavaScript file, I can just create a temporary HTML file that has the same information. So I'm going to just copy this and create a new HTML file. And let's just call it temp. And I do not want that to be in the scripts folder. So I'm going to go back to the higher level, my project, and we'll call it temp.html. And then we should get the same thing when we open up temp as we get when we look at that chapter. Okay. So I can then set this up on half the screen and set my text editor up on the other half of the screen. And then the file that I'm mainly going to work with is the one that has the JavaScript. So let's say I want to make this circle a little smaller. And then all I have to do is save the JavaScript file and then go over here and refresh it, just like when we were originally working with HTML files and in 2 different places, having them open both in the editor and in the browser. And this, as you can see, is much faster. than dealing with the book down functions when you're working on your D3 component of your project. And I'll just show you one more thing. Say we change this to yellow. There's actually nothing that you have to do, since this temp file is really just helping you, is just calling the same JavaScript that you're calling in the book anyway. So as long as you didn't make any changes to this temp file, you can just render the book. And everything is updated. So you just have to remember to do that once you finish creating the visualization. And that's all. Thank you.